Hey guys, it's Brigitte and I'm in the garden, and today I'm going to be talking about the lice of the garden. I know that sounds totally disgusting, but I think it's an appropriate term, and I've heard other people call this insect lice because it multiplies so quickly, and there's tons of different species, and you do find them in your garden, particularly during times of warmer weather. I've been gardening and farming in San Diego County for over 15 years now, and I've seen aphids a lot. And if you watch this whole video, I'm going to tell you when to expect them so you can be ahead of their population growth, how to manage them, when to be concerned and when to just be like, not a big deal, and why they proliferate in your garden when they do. All right, so what are aphids first and foremost? Well, as I said in the intro, it's kind of like the lice of the garden, which is totally gross, but I feel like it's an accurate description. They're tiny, tiny little insects that get on the leaves of your vegetables and your flowers, and they reproduce so quickly that their numbers can actually be detrimental to the plant. They're sucking out juices of the plant and really stunting their growth. Now, luckily for us, aphids really attack kind of a certain number of crops, and you can always look out for them, and they are very easy to manage. We use integrated pest management in this garden and on the farm, and we're an organic farm that rarely sprays, especially if it's an insect that doesn't need to be sprayed because we can manage it other ways. Now, for us, we know we're gonna get aphids anytime there is a heat wave on our cool season crops specifically. So you can see here, I have a row of Portuguese kale. This was planted in the fall. I've been harvesting and harvesting and harvesting kale from these plants. Honestly, kind of tired of eating this Portuguese kale. It's delicious, but we've been eating it for a very long time. And now we are in March. And one day last week we had 80-degree temperatures randomly. It just got really warm. Now what happens is the plants get stressed because kale doesn't really want to grow in super warm temperatures. Temperatures really over 70 are going to create a really good environment for aphids to reproduce. So it's all of these different conditions that make it the perfect environment for these guys to reproduce really quickly, attack stress plants, and do a lot of damage. Now, whereas if the weather was cool and these plants were a little bit younger and I hadn't been harvesting them all year, the aphids wouldn't do as much damage. Now, you'll notice in a row like this, we've got this plant that's got aphids all in the middle and it looks pretty gross. Then we have a plant that looks like it has almost nothing. And we keep going down until we get to this guy here. He's totally stunted and destroyed. Now, you don't ever want to let your plant get to this point when it comes to aphids, because at this point there's so much damage that you have to ask yourself, is it even worth keeping it? In this particular scenario, it's not, because first of all, I have all these other plants that I'm so tired of eating, and I could go ahead and spray it, but the leaves have incurred, oh God, look at this, that's disgusting. Like, do you really want to eat that at this point? Like, kind of, no, I'm good. I'm not that hungry and I have other plants to eat. So at this point, I simply want to pull this guy out so that it's not a vector to have a lot of aphids on it that can get all over the other plants. Now, in a plant like this, let's say you're like, no, I really want this. I love it. I eat it all the time. What are my options? Well, if the majority of the insects are just at the tip here, you can actually just cut that off, because on a brassica, you don't necessarily want the flowers anyways. You want to be eating the plant. If for some reason it's on a part of the plant that you really want to keep, the best in an organic way is just to use a very strong jet of water. You can knock them off. Their life cycle is so short that they're not going to have time to get back onto the plant. And if you do that consistently, the plant should be able to grow faster than the aphids can reproduce and do a lot of damage. But keep in mind, as I mentioned, this is a holistic garden, and so we always think about the whole life cycle of the plant. This plant is near the end of its life cycle anyways, and it's only going to get hotter and drier, and these plants are only going to become more and more stressed. So this population of aphids may be a signal to me that it's time to pull all of these. I want this space for squash. So these are all going to come out, and the aphids are simply just a part of their life cycle. There's lots of situations where you have plants that have aphids that you really do need to protect. And an example is here in zone 9 and 10, we start a lot of our brassicas in the fall when it's really hot. And when a brassica is really small, a large population of aphids can be very damaging. So let's say you're starting your broccoli in the fall, it's been hot, you're getting aphids. You spray them off with a strong jet of water, you're doing that every couple days and you feel like you can't get a hold of them, or the population is so bad that you feel like you need something stronger, you can use safer soap that helps dislodge them, especially on any plant that has a lot of nooks and crannies. A good example is like cabbage, broccoli heads or cauliflower heads. Sometimes it's hard to use that jet of water to get in there, whereas safer soap literally gets in there. It's potassium sulfatty acid, which is basically soap, and helps rinse them free so that you can get them off the plant. We'll link to that product in this video. You can purchase it from us, and it is one of the tools that we use in our toolkit when we are managing insects. But always first ask yourself, what is the age of the plant and is it worth keeping before you use any product. If you're new to our channel or if you always tune in, we're so glad that you're here, and we would love it if you subscribe so that you can help support our channel and we can continue to make videos that are specific to zone 9 and 10 and help you be the best gardener you can be. I also want you to comment on this video. What are your experiences with aphids? How do you manage them organically or holistically? And what questions do you maybe have that I can answer? All right, so if you have aphids in your garden and you feel like using a strong jet of water is not going to cut it, you can use safer soap, which we sell and you can purchase, which helps support this channel so we can keep making videos that help you be a great gardener.
Cat was going wild back there. That's great.